I'm fascinated by history, and all great military leaders are. You know, a lot of people debunk history, and it's very badly taught. But economists understand history.
Yep.
A good political leader will understand and read history.
Yeah.
And the military understand history is vital, isn't it?
Yep.
Because you can learn not only what to do, but what not to do. I was talking to retired Admiral Andrew Robertson recently in one of these conversations, and one of the things we got to, just on this history, because it really tells you a lot. When people say, no, Australia can't do it, we're too small, we're defenceless, so don't even try.
Yeah.
It's worth remembering that we'd only been a nation for 6 or 7 years when the federal government, concerned about what was happening in Europe, recognised that something ugly might be coming, and they ordered a Tier 2, a major navy. And it sailed through the Heads here in Sydney 5 years later.
Yes.
It fired the first shots of the First World War. It secured the Pacific, which was occupied in many parts by the Germans at the time. People forget that.
Yes.
A nation of 4.5 million, only 7 years a nation was prepared.
And then, of course, we
started to prepare and was when it broke out.
Absolutely.
Second World War, during the 30s, we were asleep. We were more with Chamberlain than with Hitler, despite Japan. And in many ways, I think we let ourselves down in the Second World War. We thought Britain could look after us. Singapore showed they couldn't.
Yep.
And I'm not being critical of Britain there. I'm just saying we should have been more alert.
Correct.
At the peak of the Cold War, we had a very effective Air Force, significant army, and a very powerful navy. But now, at this time of great change, which you're about to come onto, as a lot of people have been saying, we seem to be asleep. And to put a bit of focus on it, we're so busy tearing ourselves apart about domestic political issues, we're forgetting about the things that we need to unite on. The gorillas on the horizon, economic and even strategic. So that changed strategic environment, to get back to what you were
and I think
leading into.
I think that the strategic environment has changed dramatically, and I think there are two major changes. And the way that I put it is the first major change is that our great and powerful friend, the United States, no longer has the military resources to meet the expectations of all its allies. So the US commits itself to being active from the Baltic, through the Mediterranean, through the Atlantic, down into the Gulf, across the Indian Ocean, up through the South China Seas, into the Pacific, into the Atlantic, and all areas between it. At the end of the Cold War, they structured their military, they had been structuring their military on the basis that they could win simultaneously two big wars and a small war, as I said, simultaneously. That's extraordinary. They were prepared to pay to have millions in their defence force, to have 600 ships in their navy, to have an air force second to none. They've lost interest in that. They are no longer prepared to pay for that. The discussion in the United States at the moment by those who are interested in military affairs is to the effect, can we win one war? Now, every nation expects what we expect. Malcolm Turnbull, I remember, in his very famous and very successful meeting with President Trump, said that the American military is the centre pole of Australia's defence. If it is, we're in big trouble, because the American military, after 14 years, 15 years of war in the Middle East, 8 years of President Obama and 7 years of sequestration of arbitrary cutting by Congress, they are not sure they can win one war. So that's the first thing that changed. The power of our great and powerful ally has changed. And we can say to ourselves, we are the greatest benefit in the world of globalisation. We trade across the world. We're a regional superpower. As we were talking about before, our GDP is larger than Russia's. We trade and trade and trade, and we're fabulously wealthy. All of this because America was prepared to pick up the security bill for the Western world. Now they're no longer prepared to do that. They're being challenged, and this is the second thing that's happened. The first thing was the diminution, comparative and, real and comparative diminution of American power. The second thing that's happened is that throughout the world, and I am very reluctant to ever mention in this context China. Because we know that China is our biggest trading partner. 30% of our exports go to China, and we need it. We need China. We should welcome China into the world, but we should welcome it from a position of strength, entire strength. economic strength, government strength, military strength, social strength, etc. But the Americans aren't as polite as I am. And in their national security strategy, the Americans say that the West faces a challenge from 4 nations and an ideology. Those 4 nations are Russia, Iran, China and North Korea. The ideology is obviously Islamic extremism. And we're doing okay with Islamic extremism. We're belting it down wherever we find it, fighting beside our Muslim brothers. And we'll be doing that for the next 100 years. And, you know, IS as a caliphate has gone. The Islamic State as a caliphate, a geographical caliphate, has gone, but there'll be another one. There'll be Islamic extremism will rise again.
You've got a horrendous number of very, very, very highly trained jihadists out there, potentially including in this country.
Yes, that's quite correct. And we also have, you know, people. We have good police forces. We have good intelligence agencies. We're knockers of ourselves, but we run a good society, and we've done very well. Tomorrow we may fail, but it won't be the fault of these of our intelligence and our police forces. So you've got.
I think we owe them a great debt.
Oh, hell yeah.
And to be honest, it's easy to mock governments, but in reality, they've ensured that the resourcing and the determination has been there. You know, whether you're talking America, whether you're talking Britain, whether you're talking Australia, many other countries. A lot of our people are safe today, are not worried about it, and probably even glib sometimes in their assumption as to why this might have happened. But there's been a lot of work go into it. We've done well on that front, I believe.
And government has led, well, and it's funded well, which is the key to it all. But it's not. Terrorism is not going to bring us to our knees. Terrorists will hurt us. It'll hurt society. It'll destroy society's faith in various things, but it won't bring us to our knees. The things that will bring us to our knees, I believe, are 2 things. The first is a financial crisis. Second thing is these 4 nations that we talk about, and a conventional war. And you go back through history, and there has never been a situation where one war has broken out, almost never, and we fight that one war and we win the fight.
Somebody else sees the opportunity.
Absolutely. Someone says,
to make trouble.
Exactly. Suppose something happened in the Baltic. The Iranians might say, well, wouldn't this be a good time to do something in the Gulf? And I don't like going into scenarios because people can always challenge scenarios. That's going into scenarios are the job of the intelligence and the contingency planners in defence. They go into the deep scenarios and they plan how we should react, or I hope they are planning how we should react. So you've got a financial crisis, which could be our fault. It could come to us in some way that it's come to us before, but be worse. It could then lead into the weakening of the Western world, and that might be the thing that provokes a military crisis. So there is evil in the world, and we should never forget that. You don't want to be paranoid about it, and the aim of governments and the aim of the military is the vast majority of Australians should never have to concern themselves with this. But my view is that it is prudent in the extreme to be preparing for a big challenge in the future.